Hey, welcome to Embassy Studios. This is your Power Up podcast. And today we're going to power up by minding our business. That's how we're going to power up today. We're going to power up by minding our business. And what do we mean, mind your business? Well, we want to talk about all the things, the resources that you have as you live on this earth. And that's your money, your cars, your house, your property, your family, all the things that God has allowed you to have while you're on this earth or you're living on this earth. That's your business. That's your sphere of influence, and those things that he has given you or has allowed you to have, that's part of your business. Or and what we want to say is that you want to mind that. You want to be into it with that. You want to do good with that. You want to manage it well. You want to be a good steward. You want to be a really good steward with the things that you have, so that as you being a good steward, he's giving you what you have. You be a good steward, and you'll see that as you do that, he'll give you more. God will bless you with more. That's just a biblical principle that works. Okay, so as you are minding your business, we want to talk about, first of all, how you take your business and be a good steward of it. So first, we want to talk about being lazy. All right. So when you are minding your business, or you're being a good steward of your time, your talent, and your treasures, one of the things that you need to understand is that you can't be lazy. Now, many of us already know what lazy means. Lazy, for the most part, we think of it as that person that's sitting on the couch, that person that's doing nothing. Many times we call them the couch potato. They're not productive in life. They don't want to do anything in life. You tell them to go get something, and they're walking real slow. You tell them to try, they never get anything done. No matter what you do, they're just not motivated. They're lazy. We would consider them as being lazy, okay? And many of us, or most of us, or maybe even all of us, know somebody that's lazy like that. But I want to show you another part of being lazy. Okay? I want to show you another part of being lazy. Another part of being lazy is going through life, doing what you do, going through this rat race of life, and maybe you're busy as all outdoors, but you are not working towards your purpose. You are not working towards the purpose that God has placed you on this earth for. And so now, in the eyes of God, that is a waste of your time, just like the unproductive person is wasting their time, and that makes you lazy. It makes you lazy because everything that you are doing is almost counterintuitive to what you should be doing with your life, because God has placed you on this earth for a reason. You're here for a reason. He has a purpose for your life. It's something that he wants to complete with you. It's something he wants to do with you, and maybe not do with anybody else. You're responsible for a specific part in life on this earth. Okay? And so the only way you get to begin to know and understand what that purpose is if you have a relationship with God. You got to have a relationship with him. And that's through Jesus Christ, by the way. So as you have a relationship with him, now that begins to grow. And guess what? You say, well, how can I have a relationship with God and I can't see him, I can't talk to him? Yes, you can. That's why he has prayer, because you praying is you talking to God, and then you reading his word, that's him talking to you. And that two-way communication, that begins to help you to build that relationship with God. But it's got to be through Jesus Christ, though. It's got to be through Jesus Christ. And so if you're not working towards your purpose, it's still a waste of your time. And that is your most valuable asset that you will ever have. You could get more money, you could get more cars, more houses, but you'll never get that time back. And so, having your time to be meaningful, and working towards your purpose, that's how you be a good steward. That's where it starts, is now understanding your purpose. The other thing is, as you are working towards your purpose, you now begin to know your purpose. The other thing you want to do, you got to take some risk. You got to take some risk. If you don't take risk, then it is hard to get to the next level. Taking risk is what helps you to multiply the things that you have. And it helps you to be in the position not to necessarily work for what you have, but it puts you into position now for those things that you have to actually work for you. Okay? All right. I like it when Myron Golden says, I like to see my money make babies. It's funny when he said that, but it's true. In other words, instead of, spending the dollar, double the dollar. Okay? And instead of going out and working for the money, figure out how to make that money work for you. Yes, we do have to spend some time creating creating some wealth or working for the money. But as you are getting it, begin to learn how to make that money or make your resources, work for you. Your car, think about it. The car is an asset to help you get around and complete your purpose. All right, your house, that's your domain where the purpose is taught and bought and thought about and even and even instituted right there in your home. Your home is the institution of your purpose. Think about that. Think about that. How that is where it starts in the home. And so you have to begin to take some risk, and I call them calculated risk. I'm not telling you to run out and do something crazy or stupid or dumb. I'm talking about you actually taking some risk, or calculated risk, as I call it, that you have prayed about, that you have thought about, that you have planned about, and even had some discussion about with others that is better than you or no more than you in the field or the area that you are going to. Okay? So you want to take some risk. The other thing that you want to be able to know as you mind your business is that when you take risks, when you're not lazy, you can look to have some reward. Okay? You can look to have some reward. You can actually see that in a parable of the talents, because when Jesus gave that parable about the master who rewarded the servants that doubled the talents that he gave them. All right, they doubled the talents that he gave them, and so he made them responsible for more. But that master was really upset with the one who buried him and then had excuses of why he couldn't do better. In other words, for the most part, he was lazy. He didn't take risk. And so now the master is absolutely upset with him. But when you put in the work, and you're working towards your purpose, and you understand what your purpose is, and you're working towards that purpose, that's when you begin to see some things and begin to see some reward. So if you are not being rewarded, if you don't see things happening for you, If you are living in that miserable state of life and you don't understand what is going on, seems like the harder you work, the harder it gets. You might want to ask yourself, are you really understanding your purpose, and then are you really working towards that? Because when you begin to work towards your purpose and you understand that, man, it creates an atmosphere of reward. It creates an atmosphere of reward. Now, your reward might not be the reward that the other person get, but your reward is going to be for you, and it's going to make you have joy. It's going to make you um, uh, be fulfilled. It's going to help you to live that great life that God could bless, that God can bless you with, if you have a relationship with Him and you're working towards your purpose. And so you should understand that life does bring rewards. It does bring rewards. The last thing I want to talk to you about is you should live with no regrets. All right? If you're going to mind your business, if you're going to be a good manager of the things that you have, live with no regrets. And I don't mean going out, jumping out of airplanes, getting on a surfboard on some of the largest waves. I don't mean going to get real fast motorcycles and fast cars and just live however you want to do. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about living with no regrets and getting to a certain age in your life and go, man, I wish I had have done this. I wish I had done that. You should live with no regrets, meaning give it a try. Like I said earlier, God may have placed that business or that career or going back to school or that invention. Maybe it's an invention. He placed all of that on your heart or your mind for a reason. He didn't just allow you to have that, but he places that in your heart and your mind so that you can do it. He put you in a position where you can probably solve a problem that the rest of the world needs a solution to. Maybe you're the reason why that one thing or those two things hasn't been solved yet, because he's giving you the solution to it. Live with no regrets. Don't be afraid to step out and start that business. Don't be afraid to step out and maybe going back to school for that career that has always just been right there with you. And don't worry about how long it takes. Well, it's going to take me another 4 years. Well, those 4 years are going to go by anyway. They're going to go by anyway. So you might as well, they're going to go by, so you might as well do something while they're going by. Okay? Live with no regrets. Don't just sit there watching TV every day and learning absolutely nothing and not maturing yourself and growing yourself. Live with no regrets. In other words, you go to work, maybe you go to work from 9 to 5, and then you work for yourself for the rest of the day. When you get off, when you get home, you can begin to do some things that helps you to go to the next level in life, instead of just sitting there just doing nothing. And really, we call that just sitting there wasting your time, because that TV is not doing nothing for you. It's not helping you. Matter of fact, it's probably taking away your creativity, because it's probably filling your mind with a bunch of negative stuff anyway, because that's a lot of times it's all that's on TV nowadays anyway. But listen, there's a way to go to the next level. And that way is to, first of all, don't be lazy. All right, don't be lazy. And there's two ways. And the one that I really want you to pay attention to is don't be lazy by not working towards your purpose. Don't waste your time in life. Second is take some risk. Go out, take some calculated risk. Do some things different, man. Let's get it. And then look for the reward. Understanding that when you're working towards your purpose and you're doing the things that God will have you to do, yeah, you can expect rewards. And then live with no regret. Go and try it. If it don't work, now you know it worked, but at least you won't get down the road and say, man, I wish I had tried. Well, you did it, it didn't work, so now you're doing something else. And maybe that's the thing that worked. Or instead of saying, what if this don't work? Think about what if it do? What if it does work? What can happen then? Hey, I just want you to remind you, mind your business. And as you are minding your business, don't forget to follow us, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for rolling with us today. But don't forget to follow us on YouTube and subscribe and submit and all that kind of stuff on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're going to be all over the place. Come hang out with us at the Power Up Podcast. God bless you.